Hello, it's BSJ back with my first patch analysis in a while because what can you do? They haven't patched the game in a long time. So, just going to give a little bit of scroll, see how long we got. Looks like we got a lot. Looks like it's a little bit of a heroes, a little bit of items. So,
Slam Jam.
Drums of Endurance, most broken item of the patch for sure. All stats reduced from 6 to 4. Reminds me of Helm Dom like 3 years ago, back when it gave all stats and health regen, and all they did to the item was nerf it in terms of the all stats component. So it makes sense with drums, kind of gives you everything, literally everything in the item. So I'm sure this isn't going to be enough. Hear me out, mark my words. This isn't going to be enough. People are still going to buy the item because it's broken as shit, and then they're going to nerf it to like 2 all stats. Okay, and then they're going to be like, well, it can't be a crown anymore. It's going to be a circlet. So it's going to be a circlet and a recipe of like 900 gold. And it's going to be 2 all stats. Hear me out. That's what they're going to do because that's what they did to Helm Dom like 3 years ago. Drums definitely the best item in the patch. You'd see maybe 2 per team every game, pretty much. Heaven's Halberd, also a broken item in the patch. This was actually what I proposed, was just adding a recipe. So this is good. 400 gold recipe, pretty significant. Halberd was 3,450 gold. So now increasing that by 400, you can look at it either as about a 12% cost increase, or you can look at it as whatever time you would have the Halberd, you have it about a minute later. For people who are wondering why Halberd was broken, just did too much. You didn't even need the active most of the time. The lifesteal amp, health regen amp, on top of 400 health, 20% evasion, and 20% status resistance for 3,400 gold was just too much. It made every agi carry super survivable. It made it so that any bad matchup, pretty much, for all these agi carries like anti-mage, was made not so bad anymore by buying a halberd, because all the heroes that did the physical damage required to burst you down were first off not able to burst you in a stun because you had the status resistance, but then also you would just get disarmed. So like for instance, anti-mage versus TA used to be a very bad matchup for anti-mage, and now it's not a bad matchup because of halberd. So hopefully this change to halberd will have significant impact. Get kind of old to see halberd too much as well. Soul Ring, an item that's pretty trash. Seems appropriate that it got buffed. Got the cost reduced by 75. Okay. Not an item we see very often ever since they reduced the health regen component. Or ever since they removed it, excuse me. The item was hard to validate in lane for any hero that didn't have innate health sustain. Got asked a lot of times, BSJ, why don't you go Soul Ring on Darkseer? BSJ, why don't you go Soul Ring on X hero? And the answer was, because if the hero doesn't have innate health sustain, you can't fucking buy Soul Ring. So maybe making it cheaper would be viable here, but I don't know if it'll necessarily change the heroes that can buy it. Pretty much the only heroes that could still buy it, in my opinion, were like Timbersaw, DK, heroes, like I said, with innate health regen. Helm of the Dominator. Minimum health reduced from 1,500 to 1,000. But now it gives 4 armor to the creep. So 4 armor is definitely not 50% HP effective. So the item got nerfed again? Oh, it's a nerf to Clinks? Is that what they're going for? That's a decent point. Somebody's saying that it's a nerf to Clinks. I mean, I guess that's one way to do it. Why can't it just not eat a Dom creep? Ever heard of that? Crazy, you know? Why are you changing an item to nerf Clinks? Just make it so Clinks can't target Dom creeps. But whatever. To each their own. All you have to do is make it so Clinks can't eat Dom or Enchanted or anything like that creeps. And boom, fixed. But let's just change an item because a 1 hero out of 120 seems fair, but okay. Heroes. Arc Warden. Tempest Double no longer breaks Smoke of Deceit. Holy shit. You know what's crazy about that? Yesterday, I was doing a smoke gank, and I was running past the clone, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna run past this clone and gank them. And then it broke my smoke, and I was like, what the fuck? It broke smoke. So I learned that for nothing. Okay, level 10 talent reduced to cast range. Okay. Arc Warden did need a tad nerf, so I'm fine with that. He did seem a bit too strong. Brain Sap mana cost increased again by 10 at all levels. Okay. Bane, I don't know if he was that great, but he was like an above average support, but I don't know. Don't think this was necessary, to be honest with you. Bloodseeker, base damage increased by 2. The breadwinner. Max health cost of Blood Rage reduced at max levels. And the spell Amp, wow, went from 6% to 15% level 1. And then at max level, it went to 30%. I mean, the theory was to go Maelstrom, because you have the buff from Blood Rage. The problem I have with Bloodseeker is it feels like you can't fight mid-game because you kill yourself with the tool that makes you do damage. But then you don't want to farm because, say you compare yourself to an Anti-Mage. You know, you're comparing yourself to an Anti-Mage, a Slark, a Lifestealer. You just die when you're getting ganked. So you can't really farm jungle. Maybe we're not talking about like 2K here, MMR. We're talking about like high-tier MMR where, you know, people gank carries. I don't think Bloodseeker's good still. But maybe he could snowball from, like, the mid lane. Maybe this makes him an off-laner. But then you have a Bloodseeker. I don't know. Base damage changed from an average of 52, damage spread of 10, to an average of 55. So Bristleback got 3 base damage. Okay. Honestly, Bristleback's base damage is a problem. Is it the problem? Maybe. It's a relevant buff, but I don't know. The hero was pretty garbage. I think it's mainly garbage because he's bad against what's good. He's bad against Void. He's bad against Anti-Mage. He's bad against Spectre. I also don't see an Anti-Mage nerf here. Okay. Broodmother, Spin Web, Speed rescaled to be faster at level 1, but slower at level 4. Scepter movement speed rescaled as well. I mean, they nerfed her. Why? Okay. Base agility on Chaos Knight increased by 4. So that gives him 2/3 of an armor, and that gives him 4 attack speed. It's completely relevant. Like, a lot of CK's issue in lane is trading. Like, ever since they reverted his passive to be percent based or percent chance to crit, his trading capabilities in lane were nerfed. So this is a relevant buff. I like the way they buffed CK. Is it good enough? I was seeing a bit of CK. I was seeing a bit of CK prior to this, towards the end of the last patch. Maybe people were just bored. Yeah, we'll see. I honestly think we might see some CK. Especially if the popular carries are nerfed. We'll have to see. Movement speed on Clockwork reduced by 5. Okay, he was a bit OP. Clockwork Rocket Flare Vision Duration reduced from 8 to 6. Hurts him when it comes to like Roche fights and stuff. That definitely matters. I don't like that nerf. Not because it's a bad nerf. Like, it just feels so shitty to be Clockwork, you know? It's like, I had Vision for 8 seconds, and now it's 6. Level 15 talent now makes it 2 power cogs hits to kill. Dude, that's actually pretty good. 4 hits to kill a cog? That's crazy. Okay, I'm down. Darkseer. Surge now acts like haste rather than granting bonus move speed. Dude. So they just reverted Surge? Dude. The fun part about Darkseer was like you were moving at 1,000 move speed. That's what was fun about it. So Darkseer's fucked. Yeah, Darkseer's trash. Like, Surge being as fast as it was, making you unfucking kiteable, and also it came to like sweeping the map and stuff, like your map movements. You could literally surge your carry from mid to top and help him like gank something. I mean, it's just trash. They didn't increase the duration of the spell. They didn't do anything. They just made it so you go from 900 move speed to 500. Okay, 550. Yeah, and Darkseer, I would say, is hyper situational at best now. Hyper situational at best. I learned Darkseer for this. Honestly, I had fun learning Darkseer, and this is why you learn him, so when the patch hits next time around, I'll be able to play Darkseer, but unfortunate. Scorched Earth duration reduced by 1 second. Oh no. Devour HP regen reduced by 1 at all levels. Well, at level 1 is kind of relevant because now it's only 1. Level 10 talent reduced Scorched Earth movement speed by 3%. So I do feel like Doom was top 3 broken heroes of the patch. Last patch that was. I don't think Darkseer was top 3. I think Darkseer was like top 10. He was like better in competitive than he was in pubs. This Doom nerf is much smaller than the Darkseer nerf. It's like, the thing about the Darkseer nerf is it changes the hero, right? The hero is not what it used to be. Doom is just a slightly weaker version of the same thing. So I'd say Doom is like still a good hero, but maybe just not ultra broken. He's still broken, I think. I think he's still too good, but I don't think this is enough to make the hero weaker. I think he's going to become more of a mid now. Like, I think he's just a mid laner. As you keep nerfing his laning stage, he's just more of a mid laner. Support too, like support's fine. This doesn't really. This mainly affects offlane Doom, from what I understand. Base strength increased by 2 for DK, dude. I just want to point out, if you look at DK, like, because this increases base damage as well. If you look at DK's base damage, it's like 10 higher than it was a year and a half ago. He's straight up went from like 47 base damage to 57. Like, it's pretty freaking nuts. I think DK is now 57. We'll worry about that later. Okay. Enchant. Max health reduced. Okay, so they're just nerfing Clinks. Okay. Yeah. It's a slight nerf to Enchant as well. Enchantress was picked a lot. I'd say overall this is a nerf. But it's not that big of a nerf to Enchantress. It's mostly a nerf to Clinks. Faceless Void. Base strength reduced by 2. Time lock damage reduced by 5. Backtrack talent can now be disabled with break. So, at max level, your bash hits for about 30% of the time. When we're talking like multiplicative, 24% of 24% of 24%. Or factorials or whatever the fuck it is. Exponential, I don't know, I'm fucking tired. So this is a 1 damage nerf. 1.7 damage nerf to Faceless Void. Can he handle it? I think so. Leshrac. Base strength increased from 18 to 20. Okay. Pulse Nova radius increased by 25. Little bit of quality of life for Lesh. The hero just doesn't seem to be able to get its job done in this patch. I don't think the hero is good still. Base armor increased by 2 for Luna. Helps her laning stage. But they literally removed her armor last patch from her passive. I think she's still mediocre at best. Maybe she'll be better, though. It's relevant, but not game-changing. They did the same to Drow. The Drow didn't get touched either. Gotta remember what heroes didn't get touched at all. Empower self-multiplier reduced from 100% to 75%. Okay, so instead of doubling the bonus, you get 75% extra. Level 10 talent. So it's nerfing carry mag, or mid mag. Not offlane mag, really. It is nerfing offlane mag, but it's more so nerfing the core mag that farms. I think mag was overrated. I think he got figured out. So I think the hero will still see play sometimes, but I'll be really surprised moving forward if teams continue to pick it early in the draft. Seemed really punishable in Pro Dota, and my pubs, it wasn't winning either. It was winning a lot at the start, and then people like realize you have to specifically counter mag, and then you counter mag, and then you win. Okay, so level 10 talent changed to shockwave slow duration. Guess that's okay. I'd say offlane mag would take that, while carry mag would. Level 20 talent changed to health instead of armor. That's a big deal because the hero didn't really have any armor as a strength hero. I think at level 20 with no items, you'll have like 11 armor or 12 armor. So that's a nerf. Mars. Intelligence gain and base mana regen. Very relevant buffs to Mars here. Very relevant buffs to Mars. I've been practicing a bit of Mars prior to this. I'll definitely be trying them out now. Very relevant. So if you think about it in lane, right? Every minute you're getting an extra 30 mana. So by the 5-minute mark, that's an extra 150 mana that you get for free, right? It's free. So they also buff soaring. Yeah, I mean, I think these changes to Mars are very relevant. Medusa base damage increased by 2. And Stone Gaze mana cost reduced by half. That's pretty significant early. Honestly, Medusa's been buffed so many fucking times. Eventually, she has to be good. Is this the turning point? Is this what it takes? Is this the straw that broke the camel's back, or whatever the saying is? Maybe. Boundless Strike stun duration increased at lowest levels. Okay. They now get stunned for half an auto attack instead of a third of one. Omni Knight, base movement speed increased. Very pog. Gonna spam some Omni Knight now. Outworld Devourer, Arcane Orb damage, level 1, increased by 25%. Same at level 4. I'm not an OD expert. You guys will have to tell me. Phoenix. Base damage reduced by 2. Strength gain reduced by 0.2. Sunray cooldown increased by 4. Yeah, I mean, this hero is picked all the time, too. At what point will Phoenix be nerfed enough? Got nerfed last patch. Got picked a shit ton this patch. At least in EU, it's been picked every fucking game in pubs as well as competitive. I lost to carry Phoenix from GH yesterday. That's going to be marked in my psyche. So, you know, scarred for life for that one. Rubik. So hear me out, guys. We nerfed Fade Bolt, the minus damage from it. Hear me out. So we minused the damage reduction early in the laning stage. So we said, let's give Rubik some attack speed to help. And then we realized that's not okay. That's a very relevant debuff, by the way. Like 10 attack speed early, it's like very noticeable when it comes to trading with supports. Silencer. Last word damage increased by 40 at all levels, most notably by 50% at level 1. What's the cooldown on this spell? 22 seconds. And you also have your int multiplier. What's his base int? 25? Huh. Maybe if level 2 you go 0-1-1, right? Maybe, like, you know, by level, you go, like, maybe Core Silencer. Maybe Core Silencer here, like, mid. Because you go level 1 Glaives, and then your last word is actually significant damage at level 1. I think it might not be enough yet, And then, like, next patch, they're going to make it, like, 100, 105, 110, 115 on the mana cost. And then it'll be potentially relevant at that point. But I think not yet. We'll see. That's my guess, though. It's okay. It's going to come back up. Spectre. Spectral damage reduced from 9140 down to 75 level 1. So the 75 is pretty big. It's pretty impossible to secure range creep with a delayed ranged nuke that does 75 damage. Most heroes do around 60 damage. So the difference in damage between, like, the window that you have to get that last hit is halved, right? From level 1 dagger. So level 2 dagger and onward, pretty much the same thing, but level 1 and 2 of the laning stage for Spectre nerfed pretty significantly. Desolate has been given the value point treatment here. Level 1 significantly nerfed. So previous patch, when they rebuffed Desolate's damage, it was 30 at level 1. So now it's literally like 2 patches later, the damage at level 2 is what it is at level 1 previously. So just making it so if you want to level Desolate, you pretty much have to go 2 points now. Otherwise, it's that 1 point is just not really worth it anymore. Haunt cooldown increased at max level. So late game Spectre nerfed here. Okay. Kind of giving her the Faceless Void treatment. The window of opportunity to punish was too small, seems like. They were deeming. Spectre definitely needed a nerf. One of the top 5 carries of the patch for sure. Super obnoxious to deal with. Happy to see the nerfs. A little bit on the laning stage. A little bit on the late game. But nothing crippling the hero. Feels bad, man. Dark's here. Movement speed on Tiny reduced by 10. Very relevant on a support that has to get point blank range to toss you. Very relevant there. It also nerfs core Tiny, but it's more so... I'd say it hurts support Tiny more, but it does hurt support or core Tiny as well. Firestorm cast range reduced. I mean, I didn't even see this fucking hero anyway, but, you know, whatever. That's fine. It's reasonable. Not a big deal there. Let's see. Pit of Malice cooldown increased, but the disable duration increased. That's actually a buff, I think. I think this is actually a buff. Because at max level, it's the same, and at lower levels, you're not spamming that shit anyway. So I actually think that's a buff. Okay. Atrophy Aura creep bonus damage increased at max level and shit on at level 1. Yikes, man. Why? Why? Wow. That hurts so bad. Like, Underlord's just, like, so mediocre now. They just nerfed all of his skills early. I guess they buffed Pit of Malice, but you're not laning that. Like, that's not a laning skill. You're definitely going 4-1-4 now, at least I think. Likely going 4-1-4. They made Pit of Malice a better value point, but then they made Atrophy Aura so bad. I'd say you definitely have to put at least 3 points in Atrophy Aura if you care about the damage. But then they buffed level 15 talent, PogChamp. I don't know about that. Overpower mana cost reduced at lowest level. Okay. They gave him the mana regen back at 10 and then gave him the health at 15. Yeah, I mean, Ursa's pretty bad. I don't think this really changes that. Venomancer. Plague Ward mana cost increased at max level. Like, it's, you know, scales now. That hurts a bit because you do spam that shit. Plague Ward gold bounty increased as the leveling goes up. Also relevant because you have to kill them even though you hate fucking doing it. Poison Sting damage reduced back to what it was, I believe. So for people who don't know, Poison Sting... it does the damage instantly on the first attack. So, like, if I attack something for the first time, like it hasn't been applied yet, it instantly applies that first instance of damage. So, This is effectively a 2 base damage nerf when it comes to CSing, as well as obviously a bit of a nerf later. Poison Sting slow reduced at all levels by 2%. So same thing with Veno here as they did to Doom. I think the hero's still very relevant, but just not nearly as broken as he was prior. But it's nothing like Darkseer where it just got destroyed. Zeus, base strength reduced by 2, base mana regen reduced. Yikes. Dude, are you 2Ks picking Zeus? I saw like 5 Zeuses the entire time I played this patch. What is going on? What did I miss here? Like, are you 2Ks spamming the shit out of that Zeus? I have to understand. I have to understand, like, what the fuck's happening with Zeus. Like, I've seen him like 5 times, and it doesn't usually win. So, okay, whatever. You know, that's life. I don't think the hero's bad, but like nerfing him, that sounds pretty terrible. Okay, so we read over the patch notes. Highlights of the patch for me was definitely nerfing most of the heroes that deserved it. Heroes of note for me were Drow not getting nerfed, Anti-Mage not getting nerfed. The Void nerfs were minor, the Doom nerfs were minor, the Spectre nerfs were minor, and the Venomancer nerfs were minor. Those are 4 of the most broken heroes, as well as Phoenix. All these nerfs are relevant. Like, they make the hero slightly weaker at what they want to do, but they're still the same hero. I think the deadest hero of the entire patch would have to be Darkseer. I think this hero is pretty much going to be off the face of the planet, other than potential super late picks in the draft. I would say that Mars, I really want to try out. I think these are some significantly impactful nerfs. I want to try, where was it? Obviously, we can edit this. I want to try CK as well. Very relevant buff to him for trading and laning stage. Potentially want to try Bristleback also. 3 base damage on Bristle with a lower base damage variance makes it so he can actually CS much more reliably in laning stage without having to use quills super early on. And then, honestly, all the other nerfs for me, like Heaven's Halberd was significant. These were the 2 most broken items of the patch right here. They nerfed the shit out of Clinks. Seems like Clinks was mainly picked for the cheese aspects of him, where you'd get like Helm Dom and get a bajillion damage, or you'd enchant a creep and get a bajillion damage, and now those got nerfed, so those are big impacts for me. All these other nerfs were either very minor, like Rubik. I think he'll still be picked. He's just slightly weaker. All the buffs didn't really change too much about the heroes. Like, I think Monkey King was seeing a bit of play when he like hard countered lane matchups. I think the hero is still basically the same. Medusa might be a very significant one. Core Mag, I think, is pretty much out of the picture now. When I say Core Mag, I mean Mid Mag, Carry Mag. Yeah, those are my overall impressions of the patch. So, I would say top carries are going to be Drow. I think the top carries from prior are still going to be relevant. Sven's probably going to be in there. He didn't get touched. Anti-Mage didn't get touched. I think offlaners are still Slardar, like very good against what's good, except for Drow. I honestly think Drow might be the most broken carry of the patch now. I'm not 100% sure, but I think she is. I have to see moving forward. But yeah, that's it for now. I'll be releasing any videos about hero updates as we move forward. Yeah.